Hello.
Oh, hey.
Don't mind me. I'm a beatbox for a second.
Bow, bow, bow.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tether Radio podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. My name is Daniel, and I'm coming at you from Knox Vegas, Tennessee, and I am joined, as always, by my brother and co-host, Joseph.
Sounded like you were going to pop a blood vessel when you, that was a pretty guttural yell there.
Knox Vegas.
And also, you had a long night.
Yeah. So
Here,
this is me swirling my ice cubes that are suspended in half and half Pedialyte and water.
So, had you never vaped before?
No, not with not like nicotine kind of thing. Like I've had this stuff without nicotine. That's literally just the flavoring. But
Wait, people do that?
Yeah.
Just the flavor?
Yeah, totally.
I don't understand. Can you taste? I mean, you're pulling this into your lungs.
Yeah. I think it's more the oral fixation shit and just like the, you know, maybe people can actually like taper down, you know, in regards to like the nicotine, because I mean I'm pretty sure that the whole like thing with vaping and stuff is normally they're trying to stop smoking normally, so I'm assuming that it would just be
I don't know, man, you gotta ask the Juul kids.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, because I hit that the vape last night, and like, dude, it tastes like a Jolly Rancher, basically. It was actually really tasty.
See, but, I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I used to be. I mean, I guess I was a smoker. I guess, right? I'd smoke regularly, but I'm not a big fan of yeah, I'm just not a big fan of vaping. It's fucking gross. It's weird. It's gross. It takes up so much space. Like if I want nicotine, you know, for whatever reason. What do you mean
it takes up so much space?
Like, well, I should say there are people that are way into vaping and have like a vape unit that is like modded out, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Where they're like, you know, whatever, man. Oh yeah, I had to bump
sub-ohming.
Yeah, I had to wait. Yeah, wait. So sub-ohming. What does that mean?
So, like, literally, it's you know, like ohms. Resistance in a circuit is measured in ohms. So, if you're having less resistance, then you're going to be having more output for power. So, it's going to like heat the coils and shit, like hotter. So you're gonna get
so gross.
Yeah, no, well,
it's so gross. Have you ever seen cloud chasing? Have you ever seen this shit? No. So it's like, this is the other thing. When vaping first started becoming popular,
yeah,
and you would see people that would be like, you know, like I had friends that, you know, I was hanging out with shitty people at the time, but I had friends that were pretty fucking into it, actually. I was going to try to sugarcoat it, but pretty into it. And they'd be like, yeah, man, I just got this vape, and I, you know, modded some things to it and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, shit, really? Like, show me how it works. And they'd you know, hit the button, you'd see them pull on it, and then they'd be like, like this face was like somebody had their fucking feet in a meat grinder, dude. And they'd be like, like, and like kind of like looking
Who the
out
fuck are you hanging out with?
Looking out of the corners of their eyes, right? And there's this like unbelievably massive fucking cloud of cotton candy or whatever the fuck they're smoking would just like pour out, and you're just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, dude, that first of all, it's shocking. The human lungs are amazing to be able to hold that much.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's like there's
You
no
should be
way
able
that
to
was
hold that
fun.
much cotton candy.
Yeah, like there's no way that you could hold that many Jolly Ranchers in
In your
your lungs.
lungs.
Unless they were, unwrapped and turned into liquid and vaped.
Uh,
But it was so anyway. I had a buddy.
mm,
He actually worked for that little company that Martha and I had in Long Beach,
mm.
and yeah, dude, this guy was like way into it and was like, would have a little workbench light on his desk, and would you get these little screwdrivers out and work on his
Work on his rig. His vape rig.
It's absurd. And then he had like stickers on it, because he didn't want it to. He wanted it to be nice, but it was like kind of like punk rock nice. It was just silly, dude, silly. And then So anyway, but cloud chasing is the whole thing when you take a huge just rip of a vape, and then you just like release this massive cloud of vape, and then they're like. There are so that's like generally cloud chasing, right? But then there are vape competitions. Why do I know so much about this? But
I was gonna say, man, you went down the like vape rabbit hole, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I did, man. But they're like vape competitions where people will,
which I've actually seen that shit, that they'll like blow rings and then they'll like do stuff through the rings, or like whatever, wave their hands around, and like it causes like a tornado suspended in the air, or whatever,
and then there's like typically a strobe light somewhere, and there's typically some like Skrillex bumping. Oh my god!
I normally just draw the line at keister vaping. So
yeah, no, I hear you, dude. If you get you can get a colon full of vape, man.
Colon full of vape.
Yeah, that's it, dude. That's it. It's it's fringy AF, dude. I mean, it's
fringy AF.
It's like it's BDSM. It's colon vaping. It's fucking hardcore,
Oh yeah.
This ain't no play place.
Yeah.
Well,
how was your weekend, man?
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good so far. Just I was telling you, I went up to Nashville and had a meeting with a couple of people, and yeah, man, just pushing some code this week, doing the thing, and doing a little research for this fucking monkey show, and and that was it. What about you? What'd you get into? You watched a little football?
Yeah, watched a little football. Got to this is the first weekend I've had off in a hot minute, but yeah, so just kind of hung out, and Megan and I actually went out on Friday without our child, which was nice, and she overdid it on Friday, so it was my turn to overdo it on Saturday.
Yeah, well, this is getting older, dude. Right?
Yeah, right.
It's like,
and it takes less and less to overdo it these days. So
that's exactly right. You had 2 margaritas or whatever the fuck,
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, dude. So, episode 22. Let's rock, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Is this 22? Shit.
Yeah, man.
It is. All right, man. Well, let's get this thing kicked off. So, item number 1, like Spotify Premium or Amazon Prime, but for Uber.
Oh yeah. So Uber is launching, or has launched. I can't remember. I think they're basically doing like a target market kind of, or not target market, but a test market with this thing. And I think it's in Austin, Orlando, Denver, and Miami starting Tuesday, which let me look at when this was 4 days ago. So I guess this coming week, they're rolling this stuff out. And so what it is, I actually thought that it sounds like a pretty damn good idea, especially for somebody, they call them power users for Uber. So if you're using Uber a shit ton, you might want to check this out. But basically, if you're in one of these cities, they are doing doing a test thing, I guess test rollout of a monthly fee that will guarantee you discounted rates, and you will not have to pay surge pricing, kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's $15 a month.
So the fee just gets you like a baseline of pricing.
Exactly.
Right.
It basically gives you a discounted, So whereas like
I think they trialed this. I think it's already been done in like as a go ahead though. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
No. Well, no. I mean, what do you mean? You think it's
because I can remember maybe 2 years ago, a year ago or 2 years ago, just random conversations when I was, spending a lot of time in Venice, right, which is like, whatever the fuck, Silicon Beach or whatever they're calling it now. And somebody was saying, yeah, I got this promo offer from Uber where if I pay, $15 a month or whatever, I get locked into to certain rates. So it's not.
So was it? And it was definitely Uber, or
it was
definitely.
definitely.
They said that Lyft had something kind of similar.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a good point. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't Uber, but I think that's. I mean, for sure. Look, these guys definitely trialed it before they're rolling it out at scale.
Oh yeah. Okay,
but,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty interesting. So go ahead though.
Well, yeah. So in Austin, Orlando, Denver, and Miami, it's going to be $15 a month. But then in Los Angeles, it's going to be $25 a month. But they said that would eventually include access to e-bikes and scooters. And then Uber basically said that they think that you'll save anywhere from like 15 to 20% over the course of like I guess a month or whatever, just with the discounted pricing and stuff. If you are a frequent user, frequent rider.
Yeah, I mean, Uber's gotten so much more expensive.
Like, it's gotten insane, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. It used to be about $20, 18 to $20 for us to get to. We were living in downtown LA, and so for us to get from LAX to our apartment was about $15-20. The last time I did it, it was almost $50.
Gee, I mean, dude, that's basically just.
It's a cab.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, which we kind of already were talking about that it's like Ubers have basically they've just removed the cash from the equation. I feel like
absolutely, man,
which is smart, but
yeah. But I mean, it's just so funny that these guys come in and it's like revolutionary. It's this app-driven, ride service, what the fuck ever. And then they slowly pivot back into exactly a goddamn cab. Like my buddy was dropping me off to fly to Atlanta a few weeks ago. Yeah. And he was just like, we were looking at these things called Fireflies that are like lighted signage that go on top of Uber cars, right? And he's like, dude, I've got this great idea for Uber. He was like, they should paint Ubers yellow so that you can tell that they're all Ubers. And then he's like, oh, wait a second. Right? Like, and that's where it's headed. So,
completely, dude. Completely.
But it's, I don't know. It's the Uber story is interesting because this company is valued in the billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? I'm gonna while I'm talking, I'm gonna find this, but a crazy valuation, and now they're coming to the end of their road on how many on venture, on the venture capital side, right? And so they're that they're going to do an IPO in 2019. Uber's valuation, by the way, is $62 billion.
That's crazy.
And Lyft's valuation is $15.1 billion.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Lyft, Lyft also in this little article, Lyft also has this thing called an all access pass that is similar, but obviously not the same. But you would pay a set amount of money, and then you'd get 30 rides for the month, kind of thing. Which I don't know. I mean, obviously there has to be some kind of parameters on the rides, because I mean, shit, dude, if you're, I feel like you could abuse the hell out of that if you pay $50 for a month or whatever, $100, $150 for a month, and then end up taking it across the state or something like that,
Right.
But anyway, so but yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And let's see, they also let's see, it looks like they also had rolled out in San Francisco for the past few months, or at least a version of the Ride Pass from Uber.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
so
the cool part about this, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit on the episode, or excuse me, a little bit on the podcast in the past, and we'll get on to the next topic here. But I mean, the big that's happening is that we're transitioning from this concept of transportation as something that is I don't want to say largely personal, but is something that is reserved for a few. Let me put it that way, right? Like if you can't afford a car, then and you have to like take public transportation everywhere. The calculation is basically your time ain't worth shit. Right? So it's $1.75, yeah, but it takes you like 5 times longer to get there.
Yeah.
And so, this idea of mobility services, kind of taking the idea of personal transportation and morphing it into mobility services, like that's the process that we're in. I mean, for a reasonable rate, it really does make sense that people should be able to get from A to B, especially considering the state of technology. I mean, I don't know if you guys have these up in Knoxville yet, but in lots of cities, these electric scooters are everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, what are those? What are they called?
There are two.
Well,
lots of people are doing it. Bird,
that's what I was.
And Lime are the two that you see around a lot.
Yeah.
But there are many companies that are in there, and so what's interesting is these things are perfect for a mile or two, right? You're not going to take them. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to take them 5-6 miles. It's kind of more of an Uber ride. Yeah. And so what we're seeing is, even if you own a car, depending on where you're going, it may not make sense to pay for parking and kind of struggle with that and do that thing. And so now you've got, in this idea of a trip, there are many options at many levels to, get you where you need to go. Yeah. And because these spaces are competitive, the price is being driven down.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's a lot to kind of tease out of this of a light article, like we started with. But that's why I think it's interesting, because what is happening is people are trying to figure the model out.
Yeah.
And in a place where, and we'll head on after this, but in a place where Uber is valued at $62 billion and not profitable, again, I'm going to say that again, and not profitable, they're going to go public. The public markets are going to absorb that risk, and VCs are going to be happy to take that column of risk and just squish it flat over, a large secondary market like the fucking stock market. And then, and then that's it. The VCs are going to do something that sounds like this. They're going to dust their hands off, and they're going to go find the next fucking thing that they can pump and dump. Yeah. And it'll be up to the markets, to the larger public markets, to figure out where the value is in these things. So anyway, the saga continues, but man, it's it's cool. It's really, really cool that we are getting to see stuff where, that technology has advanced to the point where getting from A to B, like, can cost pennies. Like that is fucking cool, dude. Getting on a plane and flying from, Paris, France to Atlanta or to New York or to pick a place. You can do that for $450 sometimes. Like, what? Yeah. And now we're getting to the point where you can hop in a car, go to the grocery store, hop on one of these birds or whatever, and get to your destination for like $2. And anybody can do that has like a card.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. So, all right, man. Let's get going. Dead Redemption 2. What's up with this?
So, this topic is near and dear to my heart, considering it's gaming related. And I actually picked up a copy of it. So, first and foremost, it's an absolutely incredible game that is mind-boggling how just the attention to detail that these guys put into it. But anyway, so I pulled this off the Next Web, and basically Red Dead Redemption 2 had the biggest opening weekend in entertainment history.
Okay.
So this is taking movies and everything, into the equation or whatever, into account. Yeah. Sure. So yeah, dude, these guys, over the course of their 3-day retail sell-through, generated $750 million.
Okay.
So they sold enough copies to generate that amount of money. So this is the the craziest thing is that actually it's the biggest opening weekend in entertainment history, but in regards to the most money generated over the first, like, basically the weekend that they open, it still isn't number one. But what is funny is Grand Theft Auto 5 is number one, and it's the same fucking developer. And so these guys are it's
Rockstar.
Rockstar, yeah. Rockstar, yeah, it's just Rockstar. But yeah, dude, like, absolutely insane. Because, I mean, dude, Grand Theft Auto managed to get over $1 billion in those 3 days. And so, I mean, it's just, just to kind of put this into, I guess, perspective, they have like a couple little, not necessarily stats, but I guess facts about the opening. So it was the biggest opening weekend in retail sell-through across all entertainment releases. It was the biggest entertainment launch of 2018. PlayStation Network received the most preorders for this game than any other game. Biggest day one full game sales ever on PlayStation Network, and then the biggest first 3 days full game sales ever on PlayStation Network. So the only way that they were actually beaten, or well, I say they were beaten, but I mean, hell, it was them with Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto beat him, I think, in like, I think it was like retail copies, basically. So they had the most people buying like virtual copies and stuff of this game. But man, it's just, I mean, like this game is like sitting at like a 97 on Metacritic, and just like,
have you played it?
Yeah. I mean, it really is.
Did you bought it?
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, I bought it the day it came out, man. I've been waiting on this game for 8 years, literally.
So just a quick note here. Rockstar started in 1998, based in New York. So 19 years ago, right? 99, they released Grand Theft Auto, right? Then they do Monster Truck Madness. Then they do Evel Knievel. They did Earthworm Jim 3D. They did a couple of Austin Powers games.
They had a rocky start, we'll say.
Yeah, well, right. And so, And so, but what the fuck is this? They say films produced. Red Dead Redemption, The Man from Blackwater. Do they do film also?
I'm not familiar with their, like, if they have a production studio or something for film. So
Interesting. And I think that this is dude, I think this is a private company.
oh yeah.
2,000 employees.
Yeah. Well, so, and it's actually kind of interesting that that this, that they're so successful, but they were actually really under a shit ton of scrutiny recently because one of the founders, I believe his name is Dan Houser. He said in like an interview, he was talking about having 100-hour work weeks for like crunch time.
You know what? I'm
games.
wrong. Take-Two Interactive owns them. And Take-Two Interactive, they're a subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive with revenue of Take-Two Interactive's revenue in 2018, $1.8 billion.
Yeah. Oh no, dude! I'm telling you, these guys, they have the Midas touch for gaming. Like everything they put out is I'm sorry, everything since about the PlayStation 2 that they've put out has just been like insanely popular.
So what do you think it is? What is it about these games that people are loving?
So I mean I can say for Grand Theft Auto, you can do shit in Grand Theft Auto that it's like, I mean it's you I guess you kind of look at why people play video games in the first place, and it's like, okay, well, stepping back, it's like I know the reason that I play is because I want to be immersed in this whatever world and able to do whatever I'd like kind of thing, because it's like a suspension of reality kind of thing, which is nice, but a little vacation, a virtual vacation. But the thing is, dude, you hop into Grand Theft Auto and it's like, okay, you can do shit in that game and it's realistic enough that it's like, driving a car into like oncoming traffic, or like trying to parachute off a skyscraper or something, or diving out of an airplane and watching it smash into the side of a mountain or something. It's just like all this stuff that you couldn't do in reality, basically, but they
really?
Make it accessible.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm
really.
kidding.
Asshole. But no, dude. So
interesting. Stop. Interesting. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah. So the only thing with this new game though is it, instead of being like an action adventure like cowboy game, they've almost gone over to a cowboy simulator kind of thing. Like, so your character has to like eat, and like, I mean, dude, it's really insane, because if you make your character eat a lot, he'll get like pudgy, and like, just the like I said, the attention to detail is just insane. Like,
how long do these take to make?
Well, like I said, the first one came out, I believe, in 2010, if my memory serves me correctly. It's either 2008 or 2010.
You're saying the first Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah. Let me look that up real quick. Because literally, since I beat the first one, I was like, oh my god, I cannot wait for the next one. So, let's see. Here we go. So the first one was 2010. Yeah.
Okay.
So literally it's been in the works for 8 years. So,
Okay.
But yeah, man. And it's just like compelling storyline. It's basically an interactive movie kind of thing. So, but it's super cool if you're into gaming. And, I mean, dude, you got 100+ hours of gameplay kind of thing. So, I mean, it's a huge game. So, but super cool, and hell yeah, Rockstar's killing it. So
cool, man. Well, that's I'm not quite the gamer you are, but I like seeing this entertainment picture evolve. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It really is, man. It really is. But
pretty cool.
But anyway, dude, we'll mosey on to the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, so we're pretty big fans of a couple of different podcasts. and publications in general. But definitely Joe Rogan, is a cool podcasting personality. Joe Rogan, the comedian.
Did
And
he get his start with UFC?
so I think he was a UFC fighter in his early 20s,
Uh-huh.
or I don't even want to say UFC. I think he was like a mixed martial artist or whatever in his early 20s.
The MMA shit.
Yeah, but I don't think that, and I think he did fight in the UFC for a little bit, but then he did, his run on Fear Factor or whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then he yeah, right. And so but he's like a comedian by trade.
Get in this bathtub. We're gonna dump Beatles all over you.
Yeah. How do you feel about these Beatles? You scared? You scared about these Beatles? But so that was his thing. And then the Joe Rogan Experience has been, around for a couple of years. It's cool. It's long form. I like long form. He has some pretty interesting folks on there. He's had, people from there's this guy Jocko Willink, I think is his last name. He's this ex-Navy SEAL guy, pretty inspirational dude. So guys from like that to folks like Robert Sapolsky. I'm a huge fan of Robert Sapolsky. He's a anthropologist, I think, and he's written just some amazing books. Super smart guy. He has like Neil deGrasse Tyson on there. So he obviously has had Musk in the past few episodes, and so anyway, just an interesting guy. But he had I don't know why I just went into that long explanation of Joe Rogan.
Oh no, because I asked about it.
Oh, got it. Okay,
yeah,
right. So he had recently these two guys, James Lindsay and Peter Bogason, I think is how you pronounce his name. Bogason. On there. And so these guys, James Lindsay is a math PhD, and Peter Bogason is a professor of philosophy at Portland State. And so there was another co-conspirator in this lady named Helen Pluckrose, who is an English literature and history scholar. And so basically what these folks kind of dreamed up or started thinking about was that the kind of level of absurdity in academic journals has gotten just a little bit out of control. And so what I mean by this is, and we'll post a link to the Joe Rogan interview with these folks, but the goal of today is just kind of to break you off a piece to give you an idea. And
don't let the length of the thing, the podcast or whatever, the Joe Rogan Experience, put you off, because really the main meat is at the very beginning, probably the first like 30 minutes. But like obviously the whole thing gives you a clearer picture of what they did and everything. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point. But so I Daniel, you and I haven't talked about this, but my general feeling is the following. I don't have a huge problem with academia, right? Like, I think at its nature, it is.
Well, it's essential, man.
It's essential.
I mean, it really is. It's like
it's essential.
Yeah.
And I think in a world where liberalism was not the norm, right? In a world where things were potentially a little bit more uptight, right? Like, women were wearing skirts to their ankles and, whatever. To be able to kind of stretch in some more kind of far out directions, right? To be able to study sexuality at depth, to be able to, have controversial research projects, which by the way is the fucking point of tenure, right?
Yeah.
The goal is not so that you can have a forever job. It's like so that you can, really research crazy shit and not get fired, for
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It's a little safety net, we'll say.
It's to encourage, research at the edges.
Yeah.
Both edges, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Not just in one direction. But
Yeah.
what these folks have kind of suggested here is that academia, for the most part, in 2018, skews dramatically left.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Dramatically left, right? No, dramatically left, correct? And so, it's gotten to the point where some of these papers and some of what's being suggested, it's not that it shouldn't be talked about. Fucking of course it should be talked about, right? And absolutely people should be able to present just insane ideas, right? Things that are way off the beaten path. Yeah. But other academics, there should be rigor that goes into, looking at these ideas and really trying to understand if these ideas are valid through a scientific lens. And we have a process called the scientific process.
Yeah.
That
scientific method.
Scientific method that thank you. That these should go through, right? Yeah. And so that's it. I mean, these are scientists, and they really should, and that's not really the way, as we find out or as is kind of outlined in an absurd way, with some of these papers. So let me get into what these folks actually did. So they ended up. So an academic paper takes a long time to put together, right? Mm-hmm. And so these guys, two guys and one gal, mm-hmm. Did 20 papers, right, in like a year or two.
10 months.
10 months.
Yeah, 20 papers in 10 months.
And these papers, their goal was to make them as absolutely far out, and I think this is in their words on a couple of articles I've read and JRE, mm-hmm. Was just absurd. Okay.
Yeah.
And so some of these papers were accepted and published in top journals in the humanities. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna give you an example of a paper here that was accepted in one of these journals. And by the way, we're gonna post a link to a website called The Stranger, thestranger.com. It's a rag out of Seattle. Definitely left leaning, but really cool, actually. I'm totally digging this. I've been kind of perusing their website, and the reason I say that is because I don't, the idea here. What I don't want people to take away from this is that there's some sort of that we're saying like this is like absurd kind of left action, right? Like just in general, there's a problem with the way that academia is approaching kind of their mission statement.
And just controversial topics and all of that, like
exactly. So let me dive into one of these papers here, right? Mm-hmm. This paper is called "Rape Culture and Queer Performativity at Urban Dog Parks," right?
Yeah.
And what this paper discussed were observations at Portland dog parks, right? Mm-hmm. And what they said was that these observations revealed that dog owners, and this is coming from The Stranger. They've got a nice synopsis here, but revealed that dog owners were less likely to interfere when male dogs non-consensually humped female dogs than when their male dogs humped other male dogs, right? So people were more likely to step in and be like, "Oh, get my dog off this other dog," if it was two male dogs humping. Let's see. It says this the paper concluded was evidence of rape culture. Okay. Mm-hmm. The researcher, the non-existent Helen Wilson, right, of the non-existent Portland Ungendering Research Initiative, wrote she observed one dog rape per hour. Okay.
Yeah.
the reviewers' feedback was that Wilson didn't adequately respect the dog's privacy while tracking these acts of dog rape. But ultimately, the study was published. Okay.
So, and real quick, just to completely embolden and underline, all of their research was completely fabricated.
Completely fabricated.
Yeah.
Completely.
Like fake names, fake stats, fake. Well, actually, I think that, I mean, it was fake stats, but I mean, you've got a mathematician working on it, so I'm sure that he probably has the prowess to put something together that made sense,
Right. So let me blaze through a couple of these, because this Stranger article just does such a great job of breaking this thing down, right?
Yeah.
So then they say, other studies were equally as outlandish. The scholars were non-existent. The methodologies are flawed. The statistics were made up. The claims unsupported. Totally unsupported. Okay.
Yeah.
One paper, which was well received by the feminist philosophy journal Hypatia, advocated making white male college students sit on the floor of classrooms wearing chains to both educate them on the privilege and punish them for historical slavery. Another study looked at whether straight men who masturbate with butt plugs are less likely to be transphobic. Another replicated a chapter from Hitler's Mein Kampf, and it was accepted into the feminist social work journal Ophelia. So they do discuss this on Joe Rogan, the Mein Kampf thing, and they literally copped exact copy, like exact copy from Mein Kampf, and they instead of using the
like
word
Jews or something,
they put in white male.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, full disclosure here, Daniel and I both are white, and we're both male, right? And we're both cis, if you wanna toss that in there, right?
Yeah.
So I think the point here is that, and I'll turn the mic over to you, Daniel, here, but I think the point here is that that the goal of higher education, and the like, it's really, really, really fucking important, right? Like, all you need in a society to give this society a pretty damn good shot at being successful is a healthy, educated population, right? Like, those are the two things that you need.
Yeah.
And so you and I both have college degrees. You and I both have master's degrees. You have a doctorate. And so I mean, from my perspective, I see value in higher ed, but I think that to not be able to take a step back and admit, like, wait, what the fuck? Like, this is obviously absurd, right?
Yeah.
Is just like a little bit of self-regulation would go a long way.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, believe it or not, and you and I may disagree with this, I'm not saying that somebody who is a tenured professor who really wants to look at, like, if dog parks perpetuate rape culture, if you want to look at that shit, go ahead. Like, you want to write a paper about that shit, go ahead. But for your colleagues to not apply an appropriate level of
reality checking,
and cross-examination of what you're suggesting, is fucking absurd. And it's like we were talking about before we hopped on before we pushed the record button here. Like, even if Monty Python isn't your flavor of comedy, like, I would say 10 out of 10 people can be like, it's absurd. Like, even if you think it's funny, it's absurd. And even if you think it's, like, offensive and ridiculous, it still is absurd, right? So I say that because, having a suggestion, and they get into some more detail than they get into the Stranger article on Joe Rogan, but I mean, the like, men masturbating with butt plugs, like, the detail on that was that, like, through exposure therapy, if men, straight men start using a variety of different diameters of butt plugs, then that will help them to be more understanding of what it is to be trans, to like live as a trans person. I mean, dude, obviously that is a fucking absurd assertion, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and so that I think is really the interesting part here. The way that higher ed operates today in 2018, specifically in certain sections of the humanities,
yeah.
is just really fucking broken. And I think that's what this points an arrow to.
Well, and what I got really out of watching this was the way that they approach some of this. Sorry, the way that academics approach some of their research instead of coming up with a, like you said, using the actual scientific method and going in the order that you're supposed to go in regards to coming up with a hypothesis, testing your hypothesis, all that jazz. Higher education or academics have almost tried to come up with a conclusion that they want to reach and then reverse engineer the research to support that conclusion.
Absolutely.
And so it's like
That's like the oldest trick in the book in college, right?
yeah. Well, no, exactly. And but the problem, the main problem with that is you're starting off with a completely and utterly biased conclusion, and that's
Or
not
you're
how
starting,
good.
or you'd back it off even further,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You're starting it off with a conclusion.
Yeah, exactly, or an assumption or something along those lines, which to a degree you have to have some assumptions because you can't have a zillion variables in your research, but you have to really be very, very picky about what assumptions you make.
Right. Right.
But I think that is one of the biggest things because when I was listening to that podcast, man, or that interview, they were just saying that it was they would come up with this completely absurd hypothesis. And once they submitted their paper, the peer review process, like the people would make it even more absurd. Like
Right.
it was absolutely insane. It really is. It's just like, let's see how far we can push this before it actually breaks the research kind of thing.
Right. Right.
And it was just, dude, it was absolutely wild. And I would 100% recommend all the listeners to check it out. And it's the Joe Rogan Experience, episode number 1191. But absolutely, like, just eye opening in my opinion, and but at the same time, man, it makes sense because education is such a powerful thing that when you get something published in one of these academic journals, dude, it is just like almost deified, and so it's like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
if it showed up in I don't know, I'm trying to think of an academic journal off the top of my head, like for instance, like the New England Journal of Medicine or something like that,
Right.
and they show research in there that whatever, if you get up every morning and snort some glucosamine, then there's a 1 in 10, or not a 1 in 10 chance, you're going to reduce your potential for arthritis as an older individual by 30% or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
People take it as fact kind of thing, because it's a very well established journal. And so, I mean, dude, if this is how the academic journals are carrying themselves and vetting the papers submitted to them, I mean, dude, this just it's just crazy.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. But,
Yeah, I mean, I think that was my takeaway was that it's not we've just I don't know. It seems that higher ed, and I didn't finish that long ago. As a matter of fact, I finished my master's last year, right? And it seems that higher ed has just gotten away from, being a place where you can question everything, right?
Yeah,
It's like questioning things only in a very specific way, only along a very specific line.
yeah. Questioning things within parameters, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
And
But I think that was with the advent, not. I think it exponentially got worse with the advent of like the safe space stuff. You know what I'm saying? That it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
everybody needs to feel safe to say everything, but wait a second, you can't talk about that
right.
in the safe space.
And I think that's the point in a nutshell,
Yeah.
because the concept of safe spaces, actually at face value, I agree with, right? Like, you should be able to say whatever the fuck you want to say, period.
Yeah.
You should be able to vocalize, like, no matter how absurd your thought is. Like, it is a place to, that's one of the things that, I thought was so cool about my undergrad experience, was that it was just God, I mean, this was 2000. When did I go in? 2003, I think, is when I went into college. And so 2003 or four. And so, yeah, 2003. And so, there was still an opportunity to, like, go hang out at college radio and, like, and have conversations late into the night and, like, talk about far out shit. And, like, as you're growing into this adult who wants to hang out with other adults who think critically about the world, like, there are places to go and hang out and have these questions.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to make an argument, for and by the way, this is absurdly gross what I'm getting ready to say, but make an argument for, a rationalization of the Trail of Tears because it made sense economically for, the United States government to move these people. I mean, that seems fucking absurd to me. But I'm just saying, like, if somebody wants to make that argument and wants to, like, try to work through it logically, like, fine. You know, I mean, ultimately that should be fine. Like, and so I don't know that they would be able to do that. Maybe they could, right? But either way, they should be able to talk about it. And that's not, it's instead we're saying it's not okay to say that, for example, to provide, let's say an argument against immigration without, it's not okay to do that because you're instantly labeled a racist. And so it's not okay to provide that argument, but it is okay to say, well, if straight guys, inserted things in their ass at a higher rate, then there would be, like, less violence towards trans people or whatever. I mean, and again, like, both should be able to be said, both should be able to be argued for without a doubt, 100%. But it's just that's not the flavor of academia now.
And just with the safe space stuff, and just like you said, being able to just literally discuss anything, it's like, well,
It's
on
anything
paper,
but not
on paper, on paper that's what it is, but in practice, far from it. So.
It's like, well, it's like free speech. All free speech is, all speech should be free speech unless it's hate speech, and then it shouldn't be free speech. And it's just like, well, dude, like, people saying, I mean, for me personally, like, if you want to put a bed sheet on and march around, like, fucking knock yourself out. I think you lose instant credibility across the board. Hard fucking stop when you use the N-word.
Yeah.
You sound stupid. You're not the way that you are understanding the English motherfucking language is not relevant, right? And like, there may have been a time where people understood what, like, used that for a certain, use that as a label to continue to degrade, people that were being traded around like fucking property. But
Yeah.
like Jesus Christ, like
We haven't lived in that age in hundreds of years,
and
or
that's
not
and that's
hundreds, but like 100 years.
right.
Yeah.
And my comment is not meant to be taken as like a get over it thing. That's not what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah,
That's not what
totally.
I'm saying at all. I'm just saying like that if you're a white dude and you're using that word because you want to like hurt people, like you just fucking lose credibility. You're a joke.
Yeah.
Like it just,
Yeah.
you don't seem, so that's my point is like, do I
Yeah.
think that these people should be censored? Fuck no. And like, I don't think that, I don't think that people should be, if you see somebody reading Mein Kampf on like the subway, like I don't think that that your initial reaction should be like, oh my God, like is this guy like gearing up to send pipe bombs to Planned Parenthood? You know what I mean? Like I don't know that. I mean, there is a reason to read shit and to listen to shit and to think about shit you disagree with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that being in a place where it's like you walk into a room and people are saying things you disagree with, and like the response is, we should put duct tape over I should be able to stay in this room and we should put duct tape over everybody else's mouth.
Yeah.
It's just, that's not what, in my mind, a free society feels like. Like freedom, even though some people use their freedom for pretty gross, weird ends, that's still what that means, right? Like you still gotta do that. So
yeah, totally.
Anyway,
I completely agree.
Anyway, so we've got we're gonna wrap that one up, but let's take the gloves off and let's punch on Facebook again. Jeez, right, man.
I know,
These sons of bitches. Like we've been talking about this since.
A new fucking article comes out every week that it's just like, look how Facebook fucked up. We should just have a segment on the show that it's like Facebook fuck ups.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like what not to do, right?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, get us started on this.
Yeah. So I saw this article and I was just like, this is absolutely incredible because everybody has heard, all the politicians and stuff talking about how the role that Facebook played in like the 2016 election, and like how there was all this all of these political ads and stuff run, and that skewed stuff. But anyway, so Facebook was supposed to be cracking down on that, and so they came out with this feature that it was like some kind of paid for by disclosure, and so that you could actually see who's funding these ads and this campaign information and stuff.
Okay.
Well, it kind of blew up because Vice News actually came out with this article, and they said, we posed as 100 senators to run ads on Facebook. Okay, so if you know anything about Congress, 100 senators mean every senator. So, and Facebook approved every one of them.
Right,
okay?
right.
So this actually came after, apparently the week before, Vice had sent, let's see, let me find it real quick. So yeah, Vice had actually put political ads on and posed as Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence, and then also Tom Perez, who's the Democratic National Committee chairman. And they also posed as like an Islamic State group.
Okay.
All of those were approved. Then they tried doing it as Hillary Clinton, and that one was denied.
Okay.
So and at the time, Facebook's like, oh, those ad disclosures should not have been approved. Duh. Anyway, so they were like, well, you know what? Let's up the ante and see what like Facebook will actually approve. So they literally bought fake ads on behalf of all 100 sitting U.S. senators, including ads paid for by, in quotations. Well, that was weird. Oh, Sorry, my computer's going ape shit. Let me turn off this notification stuff. But anyway, so anyway, they did it. They even had ads that were paid for by Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. Okay, every one of them went through, and so they had these approvals, and the approvals were also granted to be shared from pages for fake political groups, such as Cookies for Political Transparency and Ninja Turtles PAC. And all of that shit went through also.
Okay.
So I mean, like, the vetting that is being done by Facebook is non-existent. Like, they are... Obviously, they're a business, and they're trying to make as much money as possible, and it's very apparent at whatever cost, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's just absolutely insane to me that under the scrutiny that Facebook has been under, especially lately, that they wouldn't be, like, cracking down on this shit more. I mean, like, how is this even possible, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think something you got to remember, scale is a bitch.
Yeah.
Right? And so there is a rule in or not a rule, but a saying in cybersecurity that if you are on the defensive, you have to get everything right. You're right. If you're defending against hacks, you have to get everything right.
Yeah. If
you're hacking, you only have to get one thing right.
Yeah.
And so I'm not defending Facebook. Like, I'm not a fan of Facebook. I'm not a fan of their business. I'm not a fan of social media. I think we've talked about this. We will look back in the not too distant future, and we will shudder to think that people were as exposed to social media as they were.
Yeah.
Just like people.
It's toxic as
absolutely,
hell.
Absolutely. Just like people were just like, smoking cigarettes like crazy in the 50s or whatever, right? In the 30s, 40s, 50s. Like, we will look back and we will be like, oh my God, like this was crazy. I can't believe this ever happened. But that being said, I'm with you. It definitely seems that they would have kind of a higher level of scrutiny around who's pulling these ads. But yeah, man. I mean, look, I just think this goes to show the model is broken. It's broken on both sides. It doesn't make sense for these companies to continue to exist at scale, in my mind, and I am a hardcore capitalist. 100%, I believe in capitalism. But I also think that there is sometimes a legitimate rationale to step in and break up companies that are monopolistic in nature. I think it's rare, but I think that this is one of those examples where Facebook should absolutely be kind of disassembled to a certain degree. It's fucking toxic. It's weird. It's crazy. It's like, it doesn't, when you really sit down and break this thing apart, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, how, so correct me if I'm wrong, just as a synopsis on this article.
Yeah.
So people impersonated senators.
100%.
Right. People impersonated senators and then released these ads as if they were those senators to specific people on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
And apparently was super, super easy. Like, as in just lying on a form easy kind of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, there's no verification. Which I'd say that will probably be on the horizon at this point, but there was just like no verification kind of thing.
Right.
And it's just absolute. Which, speaking to what you were talking about just a second ago about having to break up these tech giants, Wasn't that kind of one of the things that Tim Berners-Lee was has been kind of on the soapbox about?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about? Because he was saying, like, which Tim Berners-Lee, for everyone out there, he basically invented the concept of the World Wide Web, right? I mean, he's like the
he so Tim Berners-Lee, yeah, TCP/IP was his thing, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like the internet protocol, the way that all these machines,
that it was like, basically the URLs linking up with, with destinations, kind of, digital destinations.
That's exactly right. The idea of a URL, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
But anyway, I mean, like, so this dude that clearly knows his shit is also echoing that, that it's like, yeah, man, be afraid, be very afraid, because you don't want these people, you don't want these people, and these people being the tech giants, to have what they have on you,
That's right.
So, but anyway, we won't dilly dally on this for that long. But man, I'm telling you, watch your shit on Facebook, man, for sure. Watch what you're posting. So
yeah, it's completely true, man. It's completely true. But it's gonna be. I mean, that's insanely. It's fascinating, man. I mean, completely like. Facebook has this quote war room that supposedly came about came about as a result of the 2016 elections, right? And this war room is supposed to look at, just a fucking joke, man. I mean, people don't understand technology technology really adheres to some very simple design specifications and some very simple workflows. And yes, there are many languages, and these languages are nuanced, and they do a variety of different things. And yes, there are a variety of different architectures that kind of that these languages can be used within or whatever. But for the most part, it's pretty fucking straightforward, right?
Yeah.
And so my point is that it seems like Facebook is like doing magical shit, and they're not. They're just absolutely not. Like it is very, very simple. You log in, you give them all of these data points about who you are and how you behave, and they sell the absolute fuck out of that with complete disregard for you. You are not factored into the equation at all, period. When shit is free, you're the product.
Yeah.
And so clearly, I don't know, 2016 Russian hacking. It just seems so absurd. But anyway, all right, let's hop over to the next thing.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so this was pretty cool. I mean, we've got this one pegged as a mid-length article, but I think we'll end up going through it pretty quickly here. So the general idea is that human beings could have been well. Let me be more specific here. Not human beings in our current form, right? But let's see, millennia ago in our evolutionary pattern, right? Or in our
a long time ago in a galaxy far
away. Yeah, it's true, right? That the kind of beginnings of evolution, the beginnings of organisms that evolved into human beings, could have come from a meteor strike, right? And some sort of body from space, celestial body from space, hitting Earth, and transplanting kind of our ancestors when they were little God,
Troglodytes.
troglodytes. Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Or whatever the fucking word, years ago. And so there was a study at Harvard that gets into this, and what they were looking at is it's called transspermia, I think, is what's and it's just this idea of being able to, or excuse me, panspermia. Wow, butchered that. But the mechanism is called panspermia. And so if you've ever seen they offer this up in this article, it's a great example. But Prometheus, which was like the alien part of the Alien movies, right? And that was kind of the central concept there, that it might be possible for something to be transported via a celestial body hurtling through the galaxy, and then this hits a planet. Conditions are favorable on this planet, and then this thing that has been transported starts to grow, and eventually turns into human beings. It was interesting because when I read this, this just didn't strike me as that far out.
No, not at all.
I mean, I think that, I think you might get some shit from some people that maybe are like super pious. But still, to say that there's not a methodology that happened for people to evolve is crazy. Like evolution's, I think most of us would say that it's real. And so the general idea is, did something come from, would it be possible, and did something come from some far reach of the galaxy, hit Earth and start developing, rather than this idea of primordial soup kind of creating the initial kind of building blocks of life that then started to evolve into life here on Earth. I honestly think that this is probably a more realistic explanation. I mean, and it's kind of a cop-out explanation too, because then you don't really have to, explain how DNA began, right?
Yeah.
Like how, I've seen some tests where, actually, it's not even tests where, what was the guy's name? Crick and
Watson and Crick,
the DNA guys, right? Didn't Watson and Crick, was part of their experiment, putting together like primordial soup and then shocking it with,
and honestly, I was trying to remember myself, honestly, but it was something along those lines, that it was like putting all of the necessary ingredients, for lack of a better word, that life would need to come about, and then they were doing, there had to be some kind of driving force. So I think there was something like they were running some kind of like low current through it or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, and I don't even remember if it was necessarily Watson and Crick, but that wouldn't surprise me. So
well, and so you get into this. This is a much deeper conversation. We just wanted to broach the topic. But you get into this, and they say, it's probably fairly implausible because of the levels of radiation that some organism would be exposed to, and for the extreme amount of time that it would be exposed to that radiation, right? But it's an interesting idea that life has come from the far reaches of the galaxy, and honestly, one that, like I said, I mean, I'd have to dive in and understand at a deeper level why this would be impossible, or why it would be suggested that it would be implausible. But I dig the idea, and I think that it kind of makes sense,
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's hop on to the next thing. Netflix, and they show you what you want to see. What's up here?
Yeah, so Netflix. So I pulled this from BBC News, and basically Netflix was accused of changing cover art for shows and movies depending on a viewer's race. Now, having said that, it's not. I don't think that they were really being accused of it basically being a viewer's race, because there's not really any way to know definitively what the viewer's race is. It's not required when to fill out like a race thing when you're signing up for Netflix or anything along those lines. Basically what they've said is, hey, we don't do that. What we do is we generate cover art based on your previous viewing history, which makes sense. But it's kind of like, if you looked at my viewing history on Netflix versus Megan's viewing history on Netflix, it's going to be vastly different. There are shows that appeal more to women versus men, and I would go as far as to say there are, Megan is Korean, and she sometimes likes to watch Korean soap operas, and I think that it's one of those things that I think it's kind of weird, but it's also, I could see how Netflix would extrapolate their information on you to generate this other cover art, because I think that they actually did announce that they were trying to do that to personalize people's individual experience kind of thing. But this kind of came up because there was another podcaster by the name of, I guess it's Stacia Brown, and she's African American, and she noticed that these movies that were or not movies, shows, whatever, that had a predominantly white cast, but they might have a black cast member in it, but the black member maybe played some kind of a minor role in the cast, but they would showcase that black cast member on the cover art for her. And she just thought that was kind of interesting, so she started looking at just some other stuff. That was weird. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, sorry. I think some autoplay video tried to play. So anyway, so she just realized that it was kind of strange, and some of her listeners started writing in and basically saying, "Hey, this is what it looks like on mine. I'm white, or I'm Asian, or whatever." And it did actually kind of coincide with their races. So, but yeah,
is that in this article, and I actually did not get the opportunity to scan this, right?
Yeah.
Was this person offended?
I think that she didn't actually say, basically, but she was just like, this is weird, and I don't know how I feel about it, kind of thing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those things that it's like, it seemed, she presented it kind of as being manipulative, kind of thing.
So you and I broached this briefly when you posted the article, and I thought that was kind of the sense that I got from you when we were chatting about it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting reaction, because if you talk to anyone in marketing, there are things called customer journeys, right? Client journeys, that beget marketing profiles, right?
Yeah.
So like 100% without a doubt, 100% hard fucking stop.
Yeah.
You look at people and you say, statistically, how do I need to present this to this person so that it will resonate and I will be able to spur some sort of action to buy my thing, my widget?
Yeah.
So this idea that it is that somebody could look at an African American who makes $125,000 a year and lives in Dallas, Texas, and and blah 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 blah, whatever, all these other data points, right? And to say like, I think that they will drink. I think that they will drink, this type of vodka, right?
Yeah.
That's not crazy. It fucking happens all the time. Like it makes all the sense in the world, right?
Yeah.
People from a certain, like if you look at who buys lottery tickets, it's people from a certain socioeconomic level. That's why the marketing reads and looks the way that it does. If you look at the people that shop at fucking Lowe's, they look a certain way. If you look at people that go to the people that buy Ducatis, they look and behave in a certain way. It's
normally a specific, socioeconomic and demographic and
of course. And so this idea, I mean, Netflix does not say, hey, here's a world of entertainment, choose. Are you fucking kidding? Of course not.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix is a data-driven company, and they say, based on your past viewing history, based on the things that you've clicked, like you're not seeing, the wide world of entertainment that Netflix has access to. Instead, you're seeing the things that you have statistically said they will buy.
Yeah, keep you on there.
Exactly, that will keep you hooked and that you will watch.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I can see the perspective that you're like, well, you're only doing this because I'm Korean or because I'm black or because I'm white or whatever. I understand how that would be like shocking, but I think that where the shock and outrage should be aimed. Is at the like fuckery that's happening with these companies at scale generally, that they have so much information from you that they can not see you and be like, yeah, she's black, like, or whatever, right? Like that's the problem. It's not that.
It's not seeing the forest for the trees kind of shit.
Right. And I think that's when I say that's the problem, that's not the problem. I think that's what's shocking about it, is that they get so clear on who you are with very little information. But also that's not just a marketing thing. That's the beauty of statistics. You can use really, really strong you can develop models that have statistical models that have a lot of strength behind them, that can tell you a lot from a little bit of data. Because we're not cognizantly working through, why we do the things that we do. But statistics will say like, yeah, he takes this path most of the time, he thinks about, or she thinks about, a purchase in this way. And here, and so anyway, my point is that marketing profiles are real, and companies, I think people probably would say, I want to be marketed things that are more relevant than less relevant. I think people would say that. And then it's like, okay, but where's the line of offense, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, at what point, what part of what makes Daniel is off limits to try to market to.
Right. Kind of so thing. Is it like, well, we thought you'd like these shoes because you run, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm a runner. All right, cool. Yeah. Well, we thought you'd like these gloves because you like to snowboard. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. Well, we thought you might like this hair product because you have curly hair. Okay, cool. Well, we thought you might, like this, fucking briefcase because you're a white corporate dude. You know what I mean?
You're a fucking nerd.
Yeah, we thought you might like these glasses because you're a fucking nerd. You know what I mean? And like at that point, we thought you might want this like pocket protector. You know what I mean? We thought you might like this like bully insurance because you probably get your fucking lunch money stolen. No, but I mean, at what point is it? Are you offended by the conclusion of the data that, by the way, you've provided?
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah,
but that's kind of the state of things. But
all right, so check this out. Wait a second. Do you hear something? Wait. No, are you?
Yeah, I hear something. I hear something. I hear my breakfast starting to churn at the idea of being
So
forced to watch James Cameron's Titanic.
so that sound means that Titanic 2 is going to resume construction after a financial holdup.
Yeah, dude, we were talking briefly about this. People are going to buy the shit out of those tickets.
Oh, totally, dude. But yeah, so I pulled this article from USA Today, and yeah, so literally $500 million, okay, to build this ship, and it will feature the same cabin layout as the original, and they're planning to sail it from Dubai to Southampton, England, and then on to New York. Taking the same route of the original Titanic. So,
Right.
which is absolutely amazing. I'm actually really looking forward to just seeing all the absolutely ridiculous videos of people trying to reenact like the Titanic scenes of like, you know that they're gonna have to do something like that, right? They're gonna have to make it so that like they'll have like a stage or something on the deck or something that you can like stand up there and get a picture taken or something. I mean, they're gonna have to, right?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly true, dude. Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
quick note on Titanic, right?
Uh,
So I read a really interesting thing this morning that said that there was a coal fire happening in the Titanic, inside the Titanic when it launched, right? And that one of the reasons that it was going so fast was because in order to combat the coal fire, they had to burn the coal, right? And so there are pictures of this coal, of the side of the Titanic as it's pulling out of the harbor. And the coal fire, the results of the coal fire, which apparently were really well documented on the Titanic, you can see them in the pictures of like this singed, weakened metal on the outside. Isn't that fucking crazy? And
That's super crazy.
yeah, you gotta read it. It was on Medium.
Yeah.
I'll send you an article. As a matter of fact,
Sure.
I'll try to
Post it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're hoping to have that the construction finished by 2022. And just to read the last, I thought this was actually kind of funny, but the new ship will carry almost exactly the same number of passengers, which was about 2,400 people, and then about 900 for crew. But more importantly, it will boast modern navigation and safety technology, including plenty of lifeboats.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I was like, yeah, dude, if there's anything to learn from the first one, fucking have enough lifeboats.
That's it, man. That is it. So I'm glad we won't see a Rose Jack repeat, man. I don't think my tear ducts could handle it. But
Yeah.
but anyway, all right, people. So Tether peeps, that will always be episode 22, Tether Radio. We thank you guys for lending your ears to us for the past hour and a half. We are, of course, always looking for feedback, and if you'd like to give us some, please get a spoon out and spoon it out to tetherradio@gmail.com, tetherradio@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at tether_radio, Instagram at tether_radio, and on Facebook at Tether Radio, all one word. Yeah, man. So Daniel and I are going to hop straight back in the kitchen after we get episode 22 formed up properly to get episode 23 rocking and rolling. We've got some cool shit on the horizon, which actually we've been talking about for a while, man, with our kind of special
We're still
episode.
banging out the details. So.
Yeah, but we're hoping to have some freshness that is served up in November. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll keep you guys informed. So again, thank you so much for lending us your ears for the past hour and a half here. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
And that was Tether Radio. We will see you next week, friends.
don't forget, Election Day is Tuesday. Get out and vote.
Vote, whatever your flavor, go vote.
Later, guys.